What were the most successful product placements of all time? On our list, we have one worth maybe $1 billion, one that resurrected a dead product, and one built on a house of lies. Let's go. We're ranking product placement in media. I'm not talking about ad campaigns or a presenting sponsor. Which reminds me, this video is brought to you by nobody. The product has to be integrated into the media to make this list. Honorable mentions go to Subway in every Korean drama ever.
무슨 일 있어?
나 스테이크 앤 치즈 샌드위치 좋아해.
뭐?
Movie cars.
You'll be using this Aston Martin DB5 with modifications.
Are you telling me that you built a time machine? Out of a DeLorean?
And the toys in Toy Story. All of these were truly valuable, but to make the top 5, the placement has to transform a brand. Although there is one exception to that rule that you'll soon see. Number 5, a Kia catches fire. So not great product placement for Kia, but great for the Stanley thermos that survived the fire. That video goes viral. It appears on talk shows too. This short video catapulted the Stanley thermos into the hands of every attractive woman I know. And my wife. Including my wife. Point is, the Stanley survived the fire much better than I'll survive after my wife sees this. And now Stanley and Stanley knockoffs are everywhere. So how much was that video worth? Well, for this video, I'm gonna try and estimate how much extra profit the product placement generated for the company. These estimates will be very rough and are mostly for fun. I'm definitely open to any revisions you have, so let me know in the comments. We know Stanley reported a 275% jump in sales. Some reports say they sold 20 million in 2023. So that means they sold about 13 million more after the video. Stanleys sell for about 40 bucks at retail. We're gonna assume a 50% markup, so wholesale $27. They probably clear 20% of that, so about $5 a mug. Add all that up, that's 52 million more profit, give or take. So let's go with a cool 50 million for Stanley. On to number 4. Imagine you're a German scientist. No, not that kind. Just a normal one, interested in the iron content of spinach.
I wonder how much iron is in this vegetable.
By the way, I'm just assuming a German-speaking scientist super into iron sounds like Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Alright, I found the iron content. Now I'll write it down for posterity.
Some other scientists then take that estimate and write a nutritional handbook, except they list the iron content 10 times too high because they assume it was fresh spinach when it was dried.
No, you idiots! It's dried spinach. Come on, be better in your science making.
Then, in the 1930s, some cartoonists need a food to give their main character strength. And seizing on the idea that spinach is super healthy, they use that.
Hey Popeye, muscles come from pumping iron, not eating iron.
The cartoon explodes, and so does spinach. There's a 33% increase in spinach consumption after Popeye comes out. And Popeye has endured. Even recently, there's been a webcomic, a web series, a gritty reboot, a Popeye-themed Japanese band.
3, 2, 1, go!
Popeye is still around, and so is spinach. It has not disappeared like other vegetables. Skirette or purslane, anyone? Those vegetables are so obscure, I don't even know if I'm pronouncing them correctly. All right, so what's the value in potentially saving an entire vegetable? Well, hard to estimate, obviously, but spinach is a $1 billion revenue industry in the US. So that's probably 50 million in profit a year. Let's say Popeye is at least responsible for 5% of that. That's 2.5 million a year for 90 years. So that's roughly 200 million, maybe assuming some down years. Number 3, wildcard time. Who are the most discriminated against people on Earth? Right, Android users. It's been reported that women will not date us and people will not respond to our texts. Apple runs the world. But it wasn't always that way. Apple in the late 90s was bankrupt, almost dead. Fun story, my dad tried to buy Apple stock back then and his stockbroker refused to do it. Think, my dad could have been rich. I could have had a cocaine habit and a second wife by now. Instead, I have to work for a living. So Apple comes back from the dead. A piece of that strategy was Apple placing its product in upscale shows of the 2000s. It's all over NBC's lineup. It's in Legally Blonde, Twilight, and most famously, Sex and the City. This helps cement Apple as the brand for the elites and people striving to be elite. Today, Apple's customers are famously inelastic, meaning they will pay whatever Apple charges. They're price insensitive. So what is the value of all that product placement? Well, Apple had a cohesive overall strategy: sleek products, catchy advertising, and easy-to-use interfaces. And they didn't even pay for all that product placement. They just provided the devices to the Hollywood elite and said, use these however you want, with one exception. Villains can't use Apples. Bad guys have Androids. Told you we were discriminated against. And also, careful with this knowledge, by the way, because it can literally spoil who the murderer is in a mystery. So does this product placement matter, or is it just reflecting the fact that creatives and elites were already using Apple products? Well, if we give the placement just 1% of the credit for Apple's iPad and Mac revenue in the 2000s, that's $80 to $120 million per year. Apple has about a 25% gross profit margin, so $20 to $30 million a year from 2000 to 2010. That's roughly $400 million after adjusting for inflation, but it could be way more, or zero, depending on how much credit we give them. So that's why this is the wild card, but it's probably worth a lot. Number 2, when I was making this list, this is the one that anyone with a marketing background said had to be on the list. So here are the top 5 chocolate candies in the US. Here's the year they were introduced. See, there are only so many ways to sell people chocolate. It's hard to come up with a whole new candy, although many have tried.
Introducing the Taste-tations.
Diamond, the one with more. What's its face? What you call it?
So when one breaks through, it takes help from a higher power. E.T. is one of the top 10 highest grossing movies of all time. In it, a kid uses candy to lure a lost and vulnerable extraterrestrial back to his house, where the alien can be dissected by government agents. It's actually more endearing than it sounds, I promise. The candy used in this scheme? Reese's Pieces. Alright, so how much was this worth to Reese's? Well, like I said, candies come and go. You could argue Reese's would have gone the way of whatchamacallit without E.T. Reese's Pieces was actually struggling before the movie came out, and after, sales immediately tripled. Since then, Reese's Pieces has been a mainstay of the candy market. Now, no profit or sales estimates exist, and the AIs disagree about what they might be. Studious and reserved ChatGPT thinks Reese's Pieces generates about $25 million in profit a year, while the wild Grok says maybe $240 million. So who knows? But let's say Reese's Pieces maybe generates $20 million extra per year that wouldn't have existed. And maybe there's a 50% chance Reese's Pieces would have gone away without E.T. So that's roughly $400 million over the past 40 years. Before we get to number 1, let's talk economics. How do we model product placement? Well, it moves the demand curve out. We can think of this in 2 ways. 1, at any given price, more quantity will be demanded. Or, reading the graph vertically, the marginal buyer at any given quantity is willing to pay more for the product after seeing it in a show. So the goal of all advertising, whether it's commercials, endorsements, or product placement, is to shift that demand curve to both get more consumers into the market and increase the value in consumers' mind for the product. And I'd argue the demand curve for number 1 would not even exist if not for this song.
Take me out to the ball game.
That's one of the 3 most recognizable songs in the US. Number 4 is in the description if you're interested. Take Me Out to the Ball Game was written in 1908, and it has the line,
Buy me some peanuts and Cracker Jack.
And it's sung at every single baseball game, major and minors. Reese's Pieces, spinach, Stanley thermoses, they're all pretty good products. Cracker Jacks, though, not so much. I think it's fair to say Cracker Jacks likely would have gone the way of Cherry Humps, an actual old-timey candy that lasted until the 1980s. You got a feel for Cherry Humps, by the way. If only they'd held out until 2005, they might have had their own song.
My hump, my hump, my hump, my hump, my hump.
Okay, enough hump talk. I think we can attribute at least all of Cracker Jack's profits post-1970 to the song. Those profits are about, ballpark, $5 million a year. So that's about $250 million over the past 50 years. Let's add a bit from the previous 50 years, and that's our winner. Now to end, I want to point out something about this list that I noticed only after making it. I promise this wasn't planned at all. I got the idea for the video while at a baseball game. Go Dodgers! That's how I came up with Cracker Jack. Then I built the list out by thinking of placements that actually changed the trajectory of the business. Finally, I added Apple because Apple's the most valuable company of the last decade. So I tell you all that because I want you to know I built this list with what I'm about to tell you completely not in mind. Notice every product placement on the list wasn't planned, although there is some debate about the Stanley video. Cracker Jack is in the song because it rhymes with back. Spinach is in Popeye because it makes you strong. Apple's in all those shows because producers were using apples. Here's why Reese's is in ET. Originally in the script it was M&M's, but M&M's turned them down, so the producers switched to the next best round candy. Product placement works best when it's organic to the story. You've probably noticed all the product placement I've added around me as a joke, but you probably didn't notice the product placement built into the narrative of the video. That felt seamless and natural. So the lesson for companies is you can't really plan it. You just have to hope some writer adds it naturally or a German scientist makes a measurement error.
Shut up! There was no error. It was dried spinach. It said so in the footnote. Does nobody read them? Come on!